Apart from his physical skills and athletic gifts, LeBron James is also known for his basketball IQ.
He said in the finals, LeBron was making adjustments to our adjustments to the adjustments, and not making an adjustment to the adjustment I thought about making an adjustment, and he knew I was making a bluff.
It was a play we was trying to run, and one of our teammates forgot the play, and Bron told him the play.
But how does one learn to read what's happening on the court? On another episode of JJ Redick's podcast, Damian Lillard details how he sharpened the mental side of his game after entering the league.
And then after that, it was watching film, not to see what I did good, but watching film to see like what I could take advantage of. And once I started doing that, I think that's when I really took off.
Film. Just like how you work out to sharpen your physical skills, you have to watch film to sharpen your mental skills. My journey with film study started just over a year ago, and even though I'm still far from an expert, here are a couple of things I wish I would have taken note of earlier that might help you to speed up your learning curve.
Been picked to win the A10. I really like Chris Mooney. He's a guy you just root for. He's a really good dude. He's a good coach. That's the easiest place to win at a high level.
Now pause the video and describe what happened. How did it go? Did you catch all the details? Let's go through it again. Virginia Tech enters the ball to the wing as passers cut to the corners. The ball gets to the elbow, Couture slips the split. Diarra gets the handoff, and Couture relocates to the perimeter for a wide open three. Let's rewind again. As his man cuts through to the weak side corner, Swider establishes himself as the low help. However, as Couture slips, Gillespie becomes the lowest man. Pemsl rolls to the rim, so Gillespie is forced to hold his position and tag Pemsl. This half a second frees up Couture on the relocation, and he gets a wide open three. How far off was your initial description? Without rewinding, there was no way I could have ever picked up on different aspects of that play. So when you're studying film, whether it's on YouTube, Instagram, or TV, make sure you have a way to rewind the game so you can break down what's going on the court. If you watched Virginia's home game this season against Notre Dame, you would notice that they defended ball screens in the middle third with drop coverage, keeping the big close to the basket and allowing the ball handler to probe the paint. However, UVA is not known as a passive ball screen D team. If you've been following them since November, you would know that this is an anomaly. Specifically, UVA has switched to dropping middle ball screens since their last game against Notre Dame in late December. In that game, the Virginia bigs were poor in their hedging, neither forcing the ball handler to retreat nor recovering to the roller in time. This was part of the reason Notre Dame's two bigs combined for 47 of the team's 57 points. By watching the same teams all season, instead of just watching whichever game is on TV, you get to learn a team's basic concepts and sets. This allows you to differentiate between your base schemes and game-specific adjustments, as we see in UVA's example. You also gain more context in other areas, like subbing patterns. By noticing how players' minutes fluctuate, you gain a little more insight on what goes on in the minds of the coaching staffs. Special situations, whether it's after free throws, the beginning of a half, after a timeout, or at the end of a half, are really when coaches go deep in their X's and O's bag. Not only do you get to learn their best sets, but their play calls tell you what aspect of their team they're trying to play through, or which defensive weakness they're trying to exploit. Take this play I tweeted out a couple weeks ago. To start the game, Xavier went to a quick backscreen play. Why? Number 32 Fremantle is the team's leading scorer, so maybe Coach Steele of Xavier wants to get his best player going early. This variation ends in an elevator screen for the player who would have set the backscreen in the initial play. So we see that Xavier's opening set not only got their leading scorer a quick bucket to start the game, but it also set up the nation's leading three-point shooter for an open three a couple possessions down the line. Because coaches have time to give instructions during dead ball situations, the play usually reflects their thinking directly and presents a window of opportunity to read their minds.
Sweatiest person in history.
Who are the other two?
It's the best I've ever seen Huffman play.
Is that right? It's his second game of his career, so absolutely, you're all over it. Okay. Okay.
While those were pretty extreme examples, Most of the time, the announcers aren't talking about what's going on in the game. Maybe they're talking about a recent result, a dubious call, or a player's backstory. Those are interesting narratives to listen to, but they don't necessarily teach you about the game. Instead, I like to turn my attention to the bench. With COVID limiting fans this season, it's easier than ever to hear the callouts from the sidelines.
It appears that the Hokies will be content with the final shot of the first half. Couture got it back from Mutz. Loops it in Aluma. Slightly off balance. Follow.
It gives you another way to catch some play calls and instructions from the bench, again presenting a chance to read the coach's mind. On this play, we hear the Pittsburgh bench. The Pitt staff is instructing Savandi to time up his 45 cut, and here it opens up a gap.
Johnson methodically getting Pitt into its offense. He'll drive it, kick it. Champagny goes into the paint, dumps it down low, and then the ball is stuck.
It's not the destination, it's the journey.
Here we see two possessions.
6 players in double figures for Brad Underwood's team. They're legit. Yeah, no doubt. Legit. Got it. Jump.
We talked to Kofi. We also talked to Travion. He just got his second assist. He says, I love to pass. I've been watching highlights of Magic Johnson since I was a little kid. And his passing just...
Which one was the better play? While the first play resulted in a make, it came from an isolation situation with everyone else pretty much standing around. On the other hand, even though the ball didn't go in on the second play, the single-side high-tag pick and roll, the same one we featured in our video on Illinois' game against Baylor, led to a wide-open 3. As a coach, the second play is more preferable because not only is the shot created by ball and player movement, but the set generated a wide-open look as opposed to a contested mid-range pull-up. So while it may be easy to define a play success by whether the ball goes in or not, it's important to pay attention to the process that led to the shot too. I hope you found this video helpful. Even though I have done a lot of self-studying, I was fortunate enough to have the help of coaches, teammates, and free online resources as well. I've made a list of channels and podcasts that have helped me along my journey in the description down below, so be sure to check that out. And while you're down there, be sure to leave a comment on which tip was the most helpful, as well as any suggestions you have for future videos. Take care.